Mr. President, today I rise to speak again about the 198 North Dakotans who died during the Vietnam War. In a moment, I will speak about some of the things that I have learned about who they are. I also want to thank Vietnam veterans who have served our state and our country. And one of those Vietnam veterans is Robert Bob Weefald of Bismarck. The year Bob graduated from the University of North Dakota, he enlisted in the Navy. He served 3 years on active duty during the conflict in Vietnam. In Bob's 2010 autobiography titled Moments, he wrote, "Going to Westpac and to Vietnam was the biggest and most intense experience of my 27 years in the Navy." During his active duty service, Bob continued to serve his country in the naval. After his active duty service, Bob continued to serve his country in the Naval Reserves. In 1970, Bob began law school at the University of Michigan and saw his classmates being drafted to serve in Vietnam. As part of the University Student Board of Governors, Bob led the movement for the dean to promise to allow drafted students to return to law school after completing their service. While in Michigan, Bob met and married the love of his life, Susan. They moved to Bismarck, North Dakota, and spent their careers, and even now their retirement, in public service. Bob's first job after law school was clerking for the North Dakota Supreme Court. He later worked in private practice as an attorney. In 1981, he was elected North Dakota's Attorney General. And I have him to thank for appointing me an Assistant Attorney General in the Tax Department and for fighting for me to earn a decent wage while I was in that position. Bob made me say that. In 1998, Bob was elected a district court judge and served there until his retirement in 2010. While working, Bob and Susan, North Dakota's Public Service Commissioner for 16 years, raised 3 children. Throughout their careers and now, Bob and Susan have both volunteered to serve on many boards and organizations throughout our state, including Boys and Girl Scouts, the American Legion, and Boys State. Bob was the spark that lit the fire in making 2 significant military projects a reality for North Dakota. One was establishing a state veterans cemetery, and the other was having a Navy ship named after North Dakota, the USS North Dakota. Both ideas became a reality. For over 20 years, the Vets Cemetery outside my community of Mandan has been a beautiful resting place for those who gave so much to our country. And in 2013, I had the honor of attending the 2013 christening of the USS North Dakota and could see Bob's involvement in every thoughtful detail. Bob is an example of a true public servant. Thank you, Bob, for your continued drive and your dedication to service. North Dakota loves and appreciates you. Bob also wanted to make a point to publicly recognize other people's service and sacrifice. One of Bob's University of North Dakota Sigma Chi fraternity brothers, Bill Potter, served in the Air Force and died serving in Vietnam War. Bob regularly writes about Bill to encourage others to remember and honor Bill. Now I'm going to conclude my series of speeches here on the floor of the United States Senate by remembering Bill Potter, as well as other North Dakotans who died during the Vietnam War. Today is my last of my weekly trips to the Senate floor to talk about the men from our state who died during the war. I've taken to the floor 15 times to honor these fallen soldiers, these fallen heroes, and every time has been an enormous and special privilege. I make a point to reach out to the families of each of the 198 North Dakotans who lost their lives in Vietnam. I wanted to speak about each man so his family, friends, and people who served with him would know how much we appreciate who he was and what he did for us. Learning from family members about each man has truly been a great honor. To everyone who shared with us, I imagine it was difficult to speak about your loved ones, and I can honestly say that doing so made a difference to my staff, made a difference to so many people, made a difference to many of the senators who have listened to these speeches, and I hope has made a great difference to the young pages who have been so patient as I've talked about these fallen heroes. So today I begin with William Bill Potter. Bill was from Grand Forks. He was born December 28, 1942. He served as a pilot in the Air Force's 432nd Tactical Recon Wing. Bill was 25 years old on February 5th, 1968, when his plane was shot down and burned. The Air Force awarded Bill the Air Medal and the Distinguished Flying Cross in recognition for his heroism in aerial flight. For 7 years after Bill's plane crashed, the Air Force listed Bill as missing in action. Bill was survived by his wife, Betsy. Betsy wrote the following poem regarding her need in her life to file for divorce from Bill while he was listed as missing. Eyewitnesses had described watching his plane crash and burn. This is her poem. In my adult life as a serviceman's wife, I stayed home so the man could deploy. Had dependent ID card, a first passport got stamped. 66 was a year of some joy. 67, not bad. 68, very sad. Potter's body got lost in the NAM shuffle. MIA was the status, completely non-gratis, and the Air Force told me that I should muffle. Crashed in Laos, the site, and try as I might, DOD would not call it a death. Civil court was my choice if I wanted a voice for my life to move forward with breath. I saw no dishonor to distance myself from a pilot flown into the earth. The life I have led since Bill Potter was dead, second husband, kids, grandkids, and mirth. Peter Rice, career Navy, our son in the Army, continued our serviceman code. As a widow, wife, mother, North Dakotan, or other, I've carried my share of the load. Herbert Herb Lapp. Herb was from Hebron. He was born February 1st, 1923. He served in the Army's 25th Infantry Division. Herb was 43 years old when he died on July 3rd, 1966. He had 7 brothers and 8 sisters. Herb's sister Betty remembers him as someone with a great sense of humor and that he was easy to get along with. Herb enlisted in the Army as a young man and served in World War II prior to serving in Vietnam. 5 of his brothers served their country in the military, and Herb's younger brother, Edwin, was killed in action in the Korean War. Herb was then killed early in the Vietnam War when he was shot in the stomach. In addition to his mothers and siblings, Herb was survived by his wife, Juanita, and daughter, Diana, and son, Marcus. Roger Alberts. Roger was from Fort Totten. He was born July 11, 1947. He served in the Army's 1st Infantry Division. Roger died on February 5, 1968. He was 20 years old. He was the 9th of 10 children, and his older sister, Winona, who helped raise Roger, her parents raised Roger. Winona remembers Roger as a quiet person who did many great things, including helping his family around their home. Winona said everything was good about that young boy. Roger had a desire so strong to serve his country that he enlisted in the Army before he graduated from high school. At the same time that Roger was serving in Vietnam, his brother Alan also served in the Navy on a ship close to Vietnam. Alan remembers looking towards Vietnam and seeing flares and wondering where Roger was and if he was okay. When he had less than a month to serve in Vietnam, Roger was shot. On February 2nd, his family received notice that Roger was missing. Finally, at the end of February, the Army confirmed that they found his body and that Roger had been killed. They later learned from another North Dakota soldier, Wesley Hollingwolf, that when Roger died, Wesley hid his body so the opposing forces would not mutilate his body. But after hiding Roger's body, Wesley was hurt and went into a coma. When he awoke, he told the Army officials that he had hidden Roger's body to protect him, and Roger was found. Roger's family appreciates the Army for sending an escort with the remains to Roger's body until he could reach them in North Dakota, and to Roger's girlfriend for giving them the letters he wrote while Roger was serving in Vietnam. Mitchell Mitch Hansey. Mitchell, a native of Scranton, was born March 25, 1947. Mitchell died December 14, 1968. He was 21 years old. He grew up on his family's farm and was the oldest of 8 children, born to Dennis and Bertha Hansey. In his early years, Mitchell attended country school and later graduated from Scranton High School. His youngest sister, Gwen, laughs and remembers the times she felt like Mitchell saved her life by kicking a grasshopper off her leg, despite his arms being full of the groceries he was carrying. Mitchell's family is dedicated to serving their country. His father, Dennis, served in the Army during World War II. His brother, Terry, served in the Marines, and his brother, Gail, served in the Army. Mitchell's siblings remember him sending them letters from Vietnam with pictures of himself upon a boat. They understand that when he was on his way to mail them Christmas cards, Mitchell fell off a plank he was walking between the two ships and drowned. Mike Wolf, Jr. Mike Jr. was from Beulah, and he was born June 27, 1946. He served in the Marine Corps' Hotel Company, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Mike was 21 years old when he died on September 10, 1967. He was the 5th of 12 children. Mike's sister Laurel said that Mike was a quiet man who was involved in just about every sport offered in high school. His dream was to work as a high school coach someday. Mike enlisted at the same time his cousin Rick Wolf and 2 of their friends from Beulah enlisted. The day he died, Rick was sent ahead as a scout, and Rick was killed in an ambush. He had expected to return home about 3 weeks later. Mike's 1955 Pontiac Chieftain sat in the yard for 30 years. Laurel's husband spent about 10 years restoring Mark's car, and they gave it to Laurel's son, Donovan, who currently is having it painted. The family made a scrapbook as a tribute to Mike, which includes photos showing the process of restoring his car. Randolph Randy Marthy. Randy was from Esmond. He was born November 17, 1950. He served in the Army's 52nd Artillery Group. Randy died March 31, 1971, when he was 20 years old. He was the youngest of his family of 10 children. His older siblings enjoyed spoiling him and treating him like the baby of the family. Randy's sister Rita said that he was a good, quiet boy who liked to have fun and never caused his parents any problems. Rita remembers that after she was married and living on a farm, Randy and 2 of his brothers, Pat and Dale, would go to Rita's farm to help. Rita's basement bathroom shower had a window in it, and Randy had a great time surprising his showering brothers with a blast of cold water from the garden hose. Randy's family appreciates the calls he made and the letters he sent them from Vietnam. Rita remembers Randy calling her from Vietnam. He said he would be going on duty for a while, so not to expect to hear from him again for a while. She never heard from him again. The Army awarded Randy the Silver Star of Gallantry due to his heroic actions the day he was killed in Vietnam. That day, Randy's fire base was under heavy attack, and he defended his position despite being injured and ultimately sacrificing himself, which saves the lives of many of his fellow soldiers. In 2010, Randy's family was touched to read a Benson County Farmers Press column written by a young woman, Shell Ale, who was born after Randy died, but thought about Randy because she spent time as a child at the Randy Marthy Memorial Park in Esmond. Shell wrote about wondering about giving up your life and what that really means. She described a moment and a lifetime of moments Randy didn't get to have, like hot summer days by the lake and walking daughters down the aisle. She concluded in her column describing that Randy didn't die so his name could be etched on the granite wall or for a park to be named after him. He died and gave up everything so that you and I could have it all. Thomas Tom Senny. Thomas from Valley City, and he was born November 14, 1948. He served in the Army's 1st Infantry Division. Tom died on October 26, 1968, when he was 19 years old. Tom worked at the Red All-Star in Valley City and was looking forward to a future in that business. He was a great athlete and a top wrestler at his high school. Everyone knew and loved Tom. He made friends easily. He was so well-liked that sometimes folks would look the other way when he did things like take part in an impromptu drag race down Central Avenue in Valley City on a Sunday morning. Now, I would just tell you that's hearsay. Tom came from a family with a deep history of serving their country. His dad served in World War II. His uncles from both sides of his family served in either World War II or Korea, and two of his brothers served with the National Guard. Cleo Levang. Cleo was from Foreman. He was born February 6, 1946. He served in the Marine Corps' India Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Cleo died on January 5, 1967. He was just 20 years old. He was the third of 4 children born to Cliff and Lekney Levang and grew up on his family's farm northwest of Foreman. His sister Bev said that Cleo loved to tease and good fun. She recalls Cleo visiting her, sneaking around behind her in the kitchen, and opening the cupboard doors behind her. After closing them several times, she finally realized that her jokester brother was behind the recurring problem. Bev's son Rick also entered the Marines. Bev said that seeing Rick in his Marine uniform is a striking similarity to Cleo in his uniform. My friend from Rutland, Bill Anderson, remembers Cleo well. He said that Cleo was a tall, good-looking guy with a ready smile. He particularly remembers Cleo's exceptional music talent, playing the Bugler's Holiday on the trumpet trio with the Sergeant Central Cadets Marching Band. Bill said that the band, the Governor's Band, was in fact the best in the state. After high school, Cleo moved to Wisconsin to work, but his love of the trumpet and music drew him back to North Dakota, and he enrolled in college to study music. But with the Vietnam War beginning, Cleo joined the Marines. After learning of his death, his family felt like the 2 weeks it took for his body to arrive felt like an eternity. Bev appreciates the meaningful yet difficult phone call she received about 10 years ago from a Marine who was with Cleo the day he died. Dave Nessett. Dave was from Fargo. He was born April 16, 1942. He served in the Army's 1st Cavalry Division. David died on February 19, 1968, 3 days after his 26th birthday. Dave and his sister Arlene grew up in Fargo. Their father, Oscar, worked for the North Dakota State University Extension Service and lived in different parts of the world with his wife and children, including Iran and Korea. After graduating from Fargo Central High School, Dave earned a degree from NDSU. He then enlisted in the Army and became a helicopter pilot. Dave's sister Arlene named her son Dave after her brother. The younger Dave remembers his uncle's infectious smile and said that it was always a pleasure to see him. He was their cool uncle. He still clearly remembers when he was in the 3rd grade and his mother received a call in the middle of the night from her parents in Korea, explaining that Dave was missing. And a few hours later, an officer coming to his door to deliver his sister a telegram explaining her brother had died. Dave and Arlene's mother, Ruth, lives in Colorado and is 104 years old. She is a woman who has buried both of her children during her lifetime. Dave Johnson. David was born October 20th, 1950. He spent his high school years in West Fargo. He served in the Army's 25th Infantry Division. Dave was only 19 years old when he died on May 17, 1970. Right after high school, David chose to enlist in the Army. His sister Eva believes that Dave's trip to basic training in California was his first airplane ride. While Dave was serving in Vietnam, Eva's first daughter, Stephanie, was born. Dave became Stephanie's godfather by proxy. About 2 months later, Dave was wounded and died. When she had children of her own, Stephanie named her son Nelson David in honor of the uncle she never met. In the 1980s, Fargo Area Armed Services rededicated a building, the David F. Johnson United States Armed Forces Reserve Center. Fargo residents chose Dave for his contributions, recognizing his Army medals, including the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, and the Combat Infantryman's Badge. Members of David's 3rd platoon, called the Bobcats, maintained contact with David's family. In June, the Bobcats held their annual reunion in Fargo. They held a memorial service and visited David's grave. His sister and their families were thankful to the Bobcats for inviting them and helping Dave's memory live on. John Robbins. John was from Dickinson, and he was born November 22nd, 1947. He served in the Army's 54th Postal Unit as a clerk. John died February 23rd, 1969, when he was 21 years old. Lester Davis is a man who calls himself John's Army buddy. I want to read a poem that Lester shared that he wrote about John the day John died. I think Lester's poem is a tribute to all of the people who serve in Vietnam who had little to no combat training. These people are nurses, clerks, and other staff. Lester's poem is titled The February Awakening. From peaceful sleep and dreams of home, I'm thrown into the night. At 2 a.m., the 23rd, I know that I must fight. For sirens blow as rockets fall and flares illume the night. I still recall with saddened heart the night I went to war and how I lost so thoroughly my innocence before. I know that I will ne'er forget the ugliness of war. When Charlie hit from out the night, he came intent to kill. Just office clerks who never fought, we met him on our will. And so the price we paid was dear. John Robbins did they kill. A shocking hell to see him fall, but one of many more. And now I wonder why I made it through that night of war. Yes, I'm alive and free to do what John will do no more. And so I ne'er forget my friend who wanted so to live, who gave for us his precious life, the most a man can give. In freedom's name my buddy died, and in his name must I live. This is the 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War, and we all have, I think, an important part to play in recognizing those soldiers and those families who gave so much and who were really rewarded so little at the time. And so I encourage, this has been a project of great emotion for me and great love, and I encourage other people to pick up the mantle and remember those soldiers who gave it all.